Hey everybody, welcome back. So we're gonna do this real quick. As if you can see right there, there is the dash being pulled out. The dash is pulled apart. The reason why the dash is pulled apart is obviously steering wheel sitting over here. Best anti-theft deterrent right here, right? So just like a racing little adapter that goes on, and then this is a speed disconnect, but it wouldn't fit on the standard way, so I flipped it. But it works. So that's my steering wheel. Anyways, was having an issue with the draining. So the battery just kind of, if you sit there for like a day, 2 days, whatever, it just kind of drains itself like a slow, like creep drain. I assumed that it was probably a bad switch right here, and it's still could have been. I changed the switch out now, so we'll see what that ends up like and if that works out better. I did install some janky ass wish.com, literally wish.com, go figure, right? It was like an auto clicker. It had a car alarm built into it too, but basically the way that I wired it in, it was just to you could lock it so it'd make the chirp sound, so then people think like, oh, he's got a car alarm on there. I don't want to mess with that. And I had it hooked into the door locks underneath here, and finding a wiring diagram for this car was just, hit and miss. So I just kind of had to look it up on Google, look up a few different things, and just kind of go from there and just say, okay, I'm taking the information from this one because this seems kind of like half true, and then information from this one because this one seems kind of like it's got some of the same stuff, because this one doesn't have everything, this one doesn't have everything. And then so I just kind of pieced together a couple different diagrams and stuff, and just went with the what seemed like what they were talking about for wiring it in, and it worked until it didn't. So what happened was it ended up the brain box or something just died, and it didn't work. So I ended up just unplugging the brain box, and I just left it plugged in. And then my door clicker stuff started working again, because I couldn't, nothing would work for clicking it. You could manually open it, and the lock system, it just wouldn't work. So once I unplugged it, then the door itself, to where you could hit the button on the door, it started working. Well then, last night I assumed that it was probably the switch, changed that out, and then I was talking to my cousin Andrew, and I ended up telling him that I still had that janky ass wiring harness plugged in down there, and he's like, well, just get rid of it, take it out. So instead of unhooking all the wires and stuff like that, and because I used like a little splice-in wire connectors, so they just kind of butt up next to the original wire. You set the other wire inside the connector, and then you just crimp it on, and then it crimps it together, and it gives connection to this wire off of that wire, so you don't actually have to cut into the wire and all that stuff. So instead of going down there and removing wires and removing connectors and taping everything up and making it, or running heat shrink over it or whatever, and making it at least look better and be better, all I did was grab the wire harness and just snipped it clean off. So there's probably live wires underneath there at this point. Don't care. It's functioning, it works. They're obviously, the way that I snipped it, because I used an angled side cutter, they're snipped off short enough. There's no wires sticking out. I guarantee you they're not touching nothing. Or otherwise my car wouldn't be here right now if that was the case. It would have shorted out some fuses maybe for the door locks. But if it was to have caught anything on fire from it sitting and connecting against like a piece of metal or something under the dash for some reason, which there wouldn't be, there's only a subframe in here that's metal. So it's not like it's gonna just find the magic spot and there you go. It would end up shorting out a fuse first, which would cut the circuit, and then I would have a missing fuse and something wouldn't work correctly. So then I'd be like, oh, okay, check the fuses. Oh, that's it. Then I go underneath there and tape some wires up. At this point, I don't really care. But my door locks work again. The other issue that we found out was, for some reason, when you would lock the doors and you'd go to unlock them, they wouldn't unlock. They would lock, but they wouldn't unlock. And then you'd sit there and hit the unlock button a couple times, and then that back door would start chattering to beat hell, like it was trying to either lock itself or unlock itself. It didn't know what it was trying to do. And it was goofy. You'd unplug the battery, because I have a safety disconnect up there that you just basically unplug it. It cuts the circuit. You plug it back in. It's like a little breaker. And you plug it back in. It gives you your negative back. But if you disconnected it and you reconnected the power, then it would work again. Then you could unlock the door locks. But then as soon as you would lock them again to go unlock them, they wouldn't unlock. Well, go to find out that the relays, when I was messing around trying to figure out this whole headlight situation, which I'm sure I've already explained that in a past video. Yeah, so when I was figuring that out, I think I flipped the wire or the relays, which made it to where it didn't like each other, and they're identical relays. So one of the relays might be broken, so I might have to order a couple new relays, because one might be on it only likes it when you power it up one direction. Nice, good band, by the way. Anyways, but yeah, if you only power it up one direction, so then it ends up being like it likes it when it's in the, setting power for it to make the doors locks go up, or it likes it when it's in power setting the door locks to go down, vice versa, whatever. And so I just flipped those, and its door locks work perfectly fine now at this point. Lock, unlock. You could hit this thing a million times and it functions correctly like it should. Okay, it doesn't sit there and get froze up, and the back door that's on the slider doesn't sit there and just start like it's trying to figure out what it wants to do in life. It's like, I no longer want to be a door lock. I want to be seen as a princess in a fairy tale from Disneyland. So it's like, now it knows that it's a door lock again, and it realizes that it's always going to be a door lock and not a princess from Disneyland. So I got everything working great now with that. I think I still have a slight creep. I closed all the doors last night and made sure everything was off, and that even the back hatch is closed, because I'm like, I want to see where the draw is coming from. At this point, the only other thing that I can think of is that I'm going to have to take this dash apart on this section. Otherwise, I have to take that box out again. But I think that the glove box and this was interconnected to this whole section. Like this from here over. And there's like a bunch of screws you got to take out from behind here. And then it falls off. And if you can't tell, can't get the deck out. That's not my problem though, because that deck is just, that stays, this drops, that's in its own connection. This comes out, this comes out. Now I hate taking that out, and because it's got airlines in the back of it and stuff like that, so you can never fully take it out. You just kind of got to move it off to the side to get to the bolts that are behind there that disconnects this from that substructure. And then there's a couple screws under here. Don't know if there's any underneath this dash that hold it. I think it's just under this bottom dash. And then there's the side one over there and a couple along the bottom. And then it just kind of falls down. I'm pretty sure this comes with it. Like, there's a couple screws over there that help hold it in. There's a couple screws up here, and then it just kind of all just falls down like Humpty Dumpty. But we get to put it back together again and actually get it back together again. I think there's one in the very back of the glove box too. But what I'm looking for is a wire. And if I take it apart, Do I find that said wire? Or not? I'm not sure what I did. I don't remember what I all did when I wired that up. So I don't know if I want to take that apart again. But system's working. Should still say 12. Still does. It's actually at like 12. This reads at 12, but it's actually out there when I use the multimeter to test the battery. It's like 12.8. So it is got a creep draw on it somewhere. Last night when I left it, it was at 12.10, I think, if I remembered correctly, or 12.9. I think it was 12.10. So 12.10, and then I come back today. And this was not in the morning. This is in the afternoon when I came back here. I think I got back here at like, I don't even know, 1 o'clock or so. Then I ended up checking it, and it was at 12.8. Now I'm sitting here with the doors open. There's no dome lights. There shouldn't be a draw in this system. The dome light, this is the wires right here. And these two are live. This is the ground. This one's live. There's another one that's underneath this wrap that's been cut off that's live too. That's a constant feed though, because those were the clicker buttons for each side. So you didn't have to, it didn't kick on with the circuit. So like when you open the door, they'd kick on. It was literally, you had to push, they were push buttons. The back one in the middle, that one lit up with the dome lights for here, but that has been since rerouted into the box, and I'm going to use that as a feature. So when you turn the dome light on, it lights up the interior of the box. The back one has been rerouted as well. The back one that would have been above for the hatch light, those wires are just literally hanging there. They're not touching nothing. Same with these ones. They're just hanging there. They're not hooked up yet. There should not be a draw on this system. I don't know where it's coming from. If it's coming from that deck, because there's something faulty in the deck, that's going to be a big, big problem. Not 100% sure what I did here. I know I glued that sucker in there, so that ain't coming out. I'll tell you that. But if I can pull that out, and pull this out, I can see what I ran for the wires for here, because I'm not sure what I did for the horn wires, because horn wires are over here. I think I just took some sort of positive wire that was connected jumped the positive wire, I know that. Just don't remember where I jumped it off of. Is it the same one that feeds to these? Because that was just an open power wire. And that came actually out of the glove box. It was a light for in the glove box, but there was no light in the glove box. It was just sitting on like a dummy panel, and it was connected into like some sort of dummy peg. They just had it plugged in there, and it looks like there should have been a light right here, but there wasn't. There it was just plugged into some dummy switch that was right here in the back of that. Like an on-off switch would have went there, and which would have cut the circuit to the light. But I ended up taking that, unplugging it, and I patched in, and that's what this wire here is. It's for that one. This goes out to go down to here, which also goes up to here, because there's a couple little wires that I have grounded underneath here, and then the positive goes to the same connection off the switch that this one feeds to, as far as the voltmeter goes. When this switch is off, it's not sending power to either one of them voltmeters. So if there is power coming in on from this horn, and then going directly out, and it's the horn is faulty. I mean, it could be grounding internally, but then wouldn't it just start buzzing? I don't know. It's a very slow creep draw. Like maybe 1 volt within a day. Not even a volt, like about 2 millivolts in a day. If I end up I'm not exactly sure what's going on with it. Sorry about the dead air time. We'll fix it. No, we won't. We don't care. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on with it. I guess I could just figure it out and slowly figure it out, but I'm probably not gonna. I probably don't give a damn. That frickin', a millivolt a day or 2 millivolts a day, whatever. It doesn't even add up to a full deal. So all I'd have to do is just make sure I go start the car at least, once or twice a week or something like that. Now these doors have only been open for a couple minutes. So I'm going to go grab that voltmeter, multimeter. And it's not a cheap multimeter either. So if you guys think that it's a cheap multimeter and the meter's the problem and it's not reading correctly or something like that, you're full of shit. You're full of duties. So I will bring this out here, get this ready to go, and then I'll show you guys. I'll bring you guys around to the side here. Let me grab this if I can get it out of here without too much of an ordeal. Move you guys over here, and I'll give you guys a look at what's going on here. So there's the disconnect as far as this goes. So I can just shut this off if I want to. It disconnects my ground. And then I've never ran this car with this connected. I don't know if this would just end up getting hot or something and then break in, or then the car just dies. Who knows? I mean, it could. So we'll just kind of prop this up there. Hopefully you guys got a good view. Let me see if I can get that on there. Okay, so right now it should be at 0. Moving it around. You're getting power from the ether. I don't know. Probably huffing ether. Anyways, positive, negative. It is at 12. Let's see if my big fat arm gets out of your guys' way. It is at 12.7 on there right now. And granted, I did power up the locks a couple different times, so that dropped a little bit, but that's only a millivolt basically, just from powering them up, powering them down. Now if I sit here on this like this will eventually lose a millivolt after a while because of the fact that it's drawing off the battery. Okay, so I'm not exactly sure where the draw is, what the problem is, where to start. I checked the fuse panel, and I tested every one of these, and there is every one of them with the multimeter. So I'll move you guys back up. There's my lovely wiring. The 2-aught isn't hooked up yet, but it'll get there. I also figured out how to hook up the electric power steering pump that I wanted to get for this system. So electric power steering pump, it's gonna have to go in here. I'll show you guys real quick since we're already over here. Oh, look at that. You get some blinding light. Okay, so here's the deal. Right here is power steering pump reservoir. Right here is a bracket that holds my alternator in place. It also holds the cap for the power steering reservoir. I don't even know where the fuck pump is because that reservoir is very, very, very small. so it must just go down, feed wherever. The pump's on the backside, I think, down there. So there's hoses that come off of it that feed, that go down to it. This has got to get removed in order for me to make a standoff that I can literally put the other alternator on here. So I can loop that alternator into the line, and then just basically it's going to come up off that pulley, hit the other pulley, go down. I found it's called an electric over hydraulic power steering pump, and it's basically an electric power steering pump. And it can be used as a universal electric power steering pump. So it's no longer belt driven or mechanical. It's all ran by electricity, and it's made by Volvo. And I think it comes off of like I don't even know. I'd have to look. I think it's like a 2007 model. Little crossover kind of hatchback-ish looking SUV. And you can actually use that to it, and you can get connection pieces that mount to their pump, and it will go to AN lines. Well, then you just have a company make up AN lines that would go from that to your normal power steering rack. They just need to know basically what your power steering rack has, and then they can do your ID and OD for the line and make you a power steering pump line that would go from an AN line from the electric power steering pump to your rack. So when I'm done, this will be converted to electric power steering. That means though that if the electric dies on this, and there's say the alternator goes out and driving down the road or something, which there shouldn't because it's two alternators, but per se, battery dies, alternator dies, driving down the road. Normally, when your car alternator or battery dies, if you're driving down the road, you can still steer because it's hydraulic. It's not going to lock up right away. And as long as the transmission and all that shit's moving, it's still moving the pistons, which means it's still moving the crank, which still means that it's moving the pulley system for the hydraulic lines. So you have the chance to actually pull over. That son of a bitch dies when I'm driving down the road. It's dead. I have no power steering. It's just I'm gonna have to like really manhandle it to get it to move, because it ain't gonna just move. It's gonna lock up. That's how a lot of accidents happen too. They lose power steering locks up, they end up in the ditch, or they flip their car because they have no power steering. It's just everything locks up, and then you can't move anything. So it's a risk I'm willing to take to free up some space to make it easier for my application for this vehicle, for adding an extra alternator to it so I can get the correct voltage I need. Running off the stock alt, I can only do, I think it's like, I don't remember, 250 amp or 300 amp, something like that. I think it might be 300. And then I think with the other added alt, I can go up higher. I think I'm going to go to a 350 with the added alt, and it's 300 with the added alt and 250 with the stock alt. Because I know those stock alt's a small body alt, so meaning it's a smaller case, so you can't put a bunch of electronics inside there. With the bigger case alts, they can put more winding in there, meaning it can handle more amperage and put out more power. So therefore, I could probably go up to a 500 or 600 amp alternator if I was to choose to put the aftermarket alternator on there that way. I'm actually not, because I'm using basically an aftermarket alternator for like a Dodge 3500, which is a high output alternator anyways. I think it does like 350 or 300 amps, I think. And then the stock alt was like 250, so altogether I think it was supposed to be like 650 amp. Maybe it's 300 and 350. I don't remember. I'd have to look it up. It's on eBay. Going buying all the shit off of eBay. I think they're from US alts. Maybe maybe some other brand. But usually I use US alts a lot. I think every one of my stereo rigs had a US alt on it. My S10 did back in the day. Didn't buy an aftermarket alt for the Hyundai hatchback, the Hyundai Accent hatchback. The Suburban had a US alt 500 amp. The 1500 had a US alt 500 amp, and then this will have that. The Volvo right now is still running the stock alternator. I don't even know if I can find an aftermarket alternator for that Volvo. That's a good question, but I'm not really too concerned on it at this point. Right now I'm just mainly concerned on this system and why it is deciding that it wants to not work right. It's placed in a wire. You can look at this crazy mess of stuff here, if you can see it there. So what I did was, this is just hooked into the original horn wires, positive and negative, but I wasn't quite sure which one was positive and which one was negative, so I just assumed that the green one was the positive, and the black with the red stripe was the negative. It could or couldn't be backwards. So what the hell is clicking back there? We'll see what this does. We'll flip it. Stupid thing wants to have issues. We'll flip it. I mean, maybe I got the ground wire wrong, which is sending power to the ground somehow. I mean, it should work that way too, either way, because it's just a push button. Power in, power into the unit, and then it should just be grounded. So the horn works, but the auto alarm doesn't work. I had hooked up an auto alarm. See, I was using this to be able to make the horn louder, and that could be faulty. I don't know if you guys caught that or not, but yeah. So this is the original alarm case, whatever you call it, the horn. And I was like, well, let me utilize the alarm horn and just hook into it. I grounded it up here. I know, shitty ground, right? I just threw it on there. Ran the power wire off of the original that I thought was the power wire. It's still sending signal or power because of the loop. So maybe it just didn't work right. I don't know. It's all confusing to me. I'm not sure what to do. So I'll tell you what I am going to do. I'll get me one of these here, same grommets, same connector. Just squeeze this sucker on there and see what it ends up like. I don't remember what I used to squeeze that other one on there. might have just used a regular lineman's pliers. Let's see if I have one. Pretty sure I do. Yep, there it is. So, if you can see right here, I ended up taking and just butting one of these in there into the wire that goes into the horn. Well, now that I swapped them, I wonder which one's getting the power. Obviously, it's going to be the yellow one now, not the red one. Yeah. We'll flip them on the horn side, but it doesn't really matter. It's just getting negative now. I could just flip them on the horn, I guess. As long as it doesn't sit there and for 900 days. I could just be able to flip that and get my stuff back. As long as the horn works. I shouldn't have to crimp that in there and mess up the wire again. I should just be able to hit this now. Still has the horn. Does not have the siren. That is fucked up. Nope. Bouncing my head off there. That's what I get for swearing. Bounced my head off there and took a hit. So I think that is the problem still, is that the reason why that horn ain't working, even though that I flipped it down there. It's still not seeing the power because obviously that's not connected into the power anymore. Well, we'll just take and smack one of these inside there and hook it up then. If I can get it on there. Ready? Lock it in. Oh, come on now. What the fudge? What the fudge, yo? What the fudge, yo? What the fudge sickles, man? Well, it's kind of half on there. Half locked in. Oh, come on. It's like, yeah, I'll work. And then it's like, nope, never mind, changed my mind. Don't want to get locked on there. Okay, I think I locked that on. Nope, I did not. It did not lock. Wow, that is one cruddy connector. That is a horrible connector. That thing is half bent and sideways. Dang it. All right, let's try it again. Try to line it up to where I cut it last, or where I pinched it last time. That way then it doesn't make a new mark and we don't have a bunch of hot spots in the line. There we go. Heard it click, locked it down. Now, just disconnected that one, so it doesn't really matter. Now, if that's sending power out, this is going to get loud, just a FYI, when I hit the button in 3, 2, 1. So now, this alarm works again, or this horn works again. So this is only seeing power from over there. And it's grounding to the body. So that shouldn't be where my leak's coming from. Shouldn't. You never know with this stuff. So basically, I just flipped those and flipped that and whatever else. But that's you're just never gonna know where the leak's coming from until you, spend hours and hours and hours just tracing stuff down, and then maybe you might find it and figure it out, but I highly doubt it. I really, 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 really highly doubt it. Bow. Don't know. Now, I go look up underneath this stash. I don't think that I can get at anything if I wanted to. Oh yeah, those wires aren't even in the way. They're just kind of sitting around. If you're wondering what I did, I'll go get you. Show you guys what I did here. There was a connector or wire that went out here that fed this from the system that was from underneath, that I had power in from that car alarm box, and you can see it down there on the floor. So basically I'm gonna have to take and cut that out of there at this point, just because I don't really need it in the way. So I pulled it out from inside of the dash area, and now I'll just give her a snip, and then it should be out of my way, even though it's still connected to the harness, or well, whatever harness it was connected to. It's still kind of in there, so it's like connected to whatever I had feeding it as a loop. Like if this came off of, yeah, see, this came off of like part of that harness and looped into here. It's connected to some pink wire right now, and it doesn't really need to be there. I forget, I think that's for the OBD reader connector. But this is way before OBD, so that's whatever port that is. And then those wires aren't doing anything but for the positive and negative and stuff. They're just kind of hanging in there, hanging out, just hanging out. I can move this down, have it there, move it up. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really lock into place either. It doesn't really matter what I do with that white connector wire for the engine stuff, engine management, OBS, port, little wire. It don't matter. It's garbage. So yeah, I'm not sure what the next step is with this whole thing. So the next step is obviously we lost some more millivolts. I know that from hitting the horn. I guess I just kind of gotta leave it. I'm gonna have to close the doors up, leave it, see how it functions, and then hopefully maybe everything's fixed, because I'm gonna have to go back and check it later on and see like how many volts it actually lost, or millivolts it lost and stuff like that. It's such a slow creep. It's like power's being fed into somewhere as a constant, but then it's like it's not grounding. I don't think it's grounding itself. I mean, it could be, but you'd think that if it was grounding itself, that it would lose more power more quickly. Or if the power was grounding itself, that cord would get hot, and then or the wire would get hot, and then it would just short circuit a fuse, or it would burn the wire up. I don't have any hot spots in my wiring harness that I noticed. I don't have anything that's hot to touch, that's on the draw. Not that I can tell anyways. Yeah, I don't know where or what that draw is from. The only other thing that I can think of is I put a voltmeter up on top here, and I tore this whole thing out where there was a switch that went here that fed to the back end for the back windshield wiper, and to spray the windshield wiper, and it also did the I think that's all it did. It was just a sprayer for the windshield wiper and then the actual windshield wiper to turn it on and off. But I took that wire, unplugged it, and I just took the wire and dropped it back there. Well, I think there was power from the headlights that looped through that for some reason, because now if you turn on the headlights, it literally doesn't, the headlights won't turn on because I have to hit a switch. If before, the headlights were just on automatically because that switch looped through in order to fully fix the circuit with this. But now what I did was I just looped into that relay that's down here just to shut it off, so it's cut into this. So I can turn on and off this switch, and that's the only way it turns the headlights on. This only turns on the dash lights. Somebody's out there bumping. I think my cousin's here. Yeah, 100%. So, anyways, everybody, we'll cut the video short, we'll end it there. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.
You know, sometimes I amaze even myself.